Well, you may have noticed a dip in quality in my video. I don't have my camera with me because, no, I didn't get robbed or anything, but I'm on vacation in Texas. But that hasn't stopped me from making videos. And during my time up here, I recently saw The World's End, the final installment of Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost's Cornetto trilogy. And now, let's review it. The World's End, as I mentioned before, is the third and final installment in the Cornetto trilogy. And for those who don't know what the first two were, they were Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which are one of the best comedies I've ever seen. And there's been a lot of anticipation for this one. This one has Simon Pegg playing Gary King. His friends attempted the Golden Mile pub crawl in their old town New Haven, but they never did make it to the 12th and final pub, The World's End. So many years later, Gary gets the gang back together and tries to finish the Gold Mile. Unfortunately, the other guys, two of them played by Nick Frost and Martin Freeman, aren't too enthusiastic about doing this again, and if that's not bad enough, they eventually find out that the entire town has been taken over by robots, or blanks as the movie calls them. So it's up to them to finish the Golden Mile without getting themselves killed by either blanks or alcohol. So after Hot Fuzz came out in 2007, a lot of people have been anticipating the next movie from these guys. But we had to wait a long time because Edgar Wright was working on Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and writing Ant-Man, which is his next movie, and then Simon Pegg's been getting a lot of work, including the last two Mission Impossible movies, and the two J.J. Abrams Star Trek films where he played Scotty. And Nick Frost did some stuff here and there, just not as much as Simon Pegg. Now before I actually talk about how I feel about the movie, I mentioned this movie in my review for This Is the End. Now here's a clip. Is it going to be the best comedy of the year? No, I predict The World's End is going to be the best comedy of the year. I mean, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, you can't go wrong. Wow, my teeth look so different in that review. But whatever the case, I predicted that this would be the best comedy of the year. So am I right? The year hasn't ended yet, but so far I think this is going to be the best comedy of the year. This movie is very funny in terms of its jokes, and it's very clever in the writing, much like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz was. Wait, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz were, proper English, which is the reason why those two movies were so brilliant when they came out. And like those other two movies, you also care about the characters. Simon Pegg perfectly embodies that one person you knew back in high school, and then you revisit him years later and he's still doing the same shit. I can't say I've ever experienced that because I'm only 22, but I don't know, I might run into that one person who'd never changed from high school. But moving on to the review. I also like how Nick Frost this time is not the incompetent one. He's not the bumbling idiot like he was in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. But I liked him in those movies. It's just I'm happy he's not that same character again. Even if he can sometimes be, as the British say, an old stick in the mud. But then again, when his best friend has yet to let go of his past, why wouldn't you act the way he does throughout most of the movie? The other cast members are good too. I mean, I mentioned Martin Freeman, who's Watson on Sherlock, and who's Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit trilogy. He's really funny, and the other cast members are really funny also. One other thing I admire about this movie is that even though it's from the same three guys who made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and it has the same quality of writing and comedy, it feels very different also. This doesn't seem to be a parody of anything at all. I mean, it's rather an attempt to... And this movie doesn't seem like a straight-up parody of anything. It rather feels more like an attempt to tell a story with these characters, especially Gary King's story arc, but with some robots and apocalyptic elements thrown in. It's for good measure. I hope this is something that doesn't turn people off. I mean, I'll admit it kind of threw me off at the movie, but I just went with it because it still had that same level of writing as the first two movies did. And, well, yeah, in the end, The World's End is my least favorite in the Cornetto trilogy. I mean, in order for me, my favorite Shaun of the Dead, then Hot Fuzz, and then The World's End. They're all still really good. They have lots of jokes. This one is action-packed, and it gives me further confidence about Edgar Wright's Ant-Man. I mean, both Edgar Wright or Marvel have not done me wrong yet, so I think Ant-Man's going to be amazing. As for my rating for The World's End, I'm telling you to go get off your ass and see it right now, because I have a feeling this is going to stick around to be my favorite comedy of the year, if not the best comedy of 2013. So that's my review for The World's End. Leave a comment if you've seen the movie, subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews in the future, check out my other channel, AlexG8462, tell your friends about me. This has been The Cinemas with Mr. Robinson, and remember, know it before you see it. See you guys later.